Okay, guys, bring it in, bring it in. Summer Split Finals is going to be the best cast of the split, all right? This is for Worlds.
Yeah.
Come on, Deficio on 3. 1, 2, 3, Deficio! He's flashed away. The Arsenal Shadows finds nobody. First blood to Splyce. It's Wonder that gets it. The Stand United delivers him to Expect's waiting hand. Well, at least son of Trashy, Stand United's going to deliver Wonder. Not going to be a kill, but the flash torch. Chrono break backwards. Perks makes it out alive.
Frame perfect ultimate by Perks.
Here comes Perks. He phase dives forward, and the fight turns around. Perks is down. Perks is down. Splyce are down 10,000 gold, and they're winning the fight. Senkex is going to get dropped. Sven gets the kill credit, copies the target as the chrono break, buys more time. Sven flashes forward, the shutdown kill. Splyce are routed, they are killed, they are aced, and G2 are looking for the base. G2 Esports strike first at a potential back-to-back split title.
Welcome back to Krakow, Poland. We have seen just a couple of moments of action already here in the arena, and I am joined by the new LCS mid laner, old LCS mid laner as well. Of course, from Misfits, it's Selfie, Poland's own. So, you've seen some interesting stuff today. How about that AP Echo?
I don't really think AP Echo is that good, but I guess against Syndra it could work because you can dodge her ultimate, and Perks maybe was a bit scared of people like camping here or something, so Echo is good against escaping stuff. So yeah, I don't really think it's like good overall pick, but maybe against Syndra it could work. I don't know. I didn't play it that much, so.
Well, we've definitely seen a bit of it so far. Of course, you know, you're going to have some time before you'll be playing next LCS split. However, you've seen some really cool stuff from these teams so far, all split long. Anything that stood out in your mind? How do you see these teams stacking up so far, especially against the competition at Worlds?
Which team?
Mostly these two right now. I guess Splyce isn't locked yet.
I mean, I really didn't see that much of the teams that go to Worlds, but like I think EU teams are not that bad, so like I think they can do well at Worlds. Yeah.
All right, we're looking forward to it. So one last thing, can I get a prediction on this match?
I think, like from what I saw, it could be 3-2, and I hope for like 5-game series. So yeah, I hope it's gonna be 3-2. I really hope.
Well, I do as well. Thanks again for joining me, Selfie, and hope you're enjoying the time here in the Torrent Arena. For now, though, we're going to send it back to the casters to get into game number 2.
Thank you very much, Pyre. Looking forward to seeing Selfie back on the LCS stage next year. Before we get to that, we need to wrap up the Summer Split Finals. As it is dynamic side selection, Splyce have chosen red side. They are the lowest seeds. They will pick for games 2 and games 4. At the beginning of the day, we talked a lot about how G2 can use red side to counter pick.
Yep.
I feel they did well. That Echo ended up working out. But it's kind of different because most of the rest of the European playoffs, teams have been like mostly blue, mostly red. So what do you make of now Splyce going red side?
I think it's smart because, again, it removes kind of G2's strategy of being able to last pick mid or last pick support, because we saw how much focus there was on like strong 2v2 lane. Give also Perks a good matchup in mid where Senkex had to blind picks. He obviously went for the Syndra, which didn't really work out for him in this game. So I think it makes a lot of sense to go red side. Also, I feel there's very few first picks where it's like, okay, this one pick is going to change the game completely. So getting the 2 picks on the red side in first rotation is very impactful.
The value of the 2 counter picks, or not counter picks, but the picks on first rotation purple side generally add up to the same amount of value you get from first pick blue side. In addition to that, we saw some really good jungle synergy, both between Perks and Trick, honestly, and Senkex and Trashy. So if Senkex now gets the counter pick in mid, maybe they end up just on top of those duels and we see an entirely different match.
Yeah, definitely a very strong thing for both teams during the entire split is that synergy between the junglers and the mid laners, but I even want to go as far as saying the junglers and every lane they have. Like, this is why Trashy and Trick have been so good in this split, because they're able to adjust on the fly. Do we have to go bot lane? Do we have to go mid? Do we have to go top? They're able to consistently do it and perform really well with every single member on the team.
Now Splyce, I think they feared at least in game 1, but right now they're banning out the Trundle, which is a bit of a weird ban in my opinion, because are they going to leave the Rek'Sai open for G2? Because G2, can they fare with that Rek'Sai? Splyce, usually teams are so afraid to let a top tier Rek'Sai first.
Right, and when we see Trundle bans right now, it's often if you really want to get on an early Shen pick yourself and you don't want Trundle to be one of the counters, but Wonder, while he had a good individual performance on Shen, it's not the kind of pick Splyce used to win games normally. Once again, some focus on mid lanes.
It's all indicating towards that Shen pick still, though.
And Rek'Sai coming for G2 then, and then you get the Shen, yeah.
Yeah, that's the Splyce's plan here. Is G2 gonna react to it. Champion was open last game too, so
They're not gonna go in Italy. Don't
I
worry.
think they just they may just read the planning from Splyce and say, you know what, if you want this Shen this badly, we'll pick it up.
Now the only other thing for G2 would be give Shen over, take Rek'Sai and just pick Echo into the Shen. Obviously a matchup we saw quite a lot in yesterday's NALCS series where Huni got to play that Echo multiple times against Shen, and I think it's a smart and a good matchup. So I prefer this just because you get Trick on the best jungler in the current meta, even though you might give one to the Shen again.
This is a joke between them. Yesterday, when all the junglers were out, Trashy was talking to Trick, just first insta-lock Graves, maybe, and they both looked at each other knowing that they're just like mocking this champion, so that's definitely not coming out.
So now also available, meaning there's tons of picks up in the top lane for Expect. Lucian can come in once again for Sven if you want to lock in that strong 2v2 lane after level 6 against the Sivir. So you can have a lot of the same picks suddenly from G2 with the last few picks coming in, also with the last rotation from Sven and Mithy. Definitely not like Trick is, or Expect is lacking picks in the top lane. Both Gnar and Echo works.
Two things I'm looking at. Gragas is available, as is the Vladimir. Vladimir was banned last time round. We know Trashy is very strong on that Gragas. Now that Gnar is locked in, a few seconds left for G2's next one.
And that Vladimir is actually a really great point to bring up here because it fits well in kind of a Sivir Shen composition, especially if you fill it out with Taric. You get honestly the pristine bulldozer composition where you can send the Vladimir in the backline. But G2 can also just early pick it. But if you look at Splyce, we know they play the likes of Malzahar really well, which is a traditional Vladimir counter. So G2 don't really want to pick it up, but I think Splyce will be happy to possibly pick it up on the last pick rotation.
Yeah, definitely either wait for last pick or you save your last pick for support and you take the Vladimir now and you just deal with that Malzahar pick against him just because Vladimir fits your composition so well and you get a chance to last pick support for potentially your lane. Karma, while she's a flex choice, very few teams still play her in the mid lane and she's very often just going straight support.
She's just really good to solidify Sivir's lane control. Sivir doesn't do too well against Lucian in certain trade patterns, but if you have Sivir Karma, that lane's gonna push. That lane will have control of wherever the minion wave goes. Even if they don't want to fight you, they will just blow it up immediately.
Mithy special with the Soraka, definitely a champion he's played quite a lot of. Echo here would make sense as a blind pick as well because he can lane against most champions just by perma pushing Q, and a combination that's super deadly is Rek'Sai and Echo together. Because Rek'Sai can give that blue buff level 4 to the Echo and he can just perma push the lane. So even against a tough matchup, quote unquote, Echo can just keep pushing with that blue buff and actually survive the lane.
And we see the Soraka once again coming up from Mithy. He pulled out in the semi-finals. Really had some amazing plays. His timing on that silence en route for teleport plays was incredible, and coming into the Sivir Karma lane, that's going to be helping out a lot.
A well-played Soraka hides its beauty in the details, in the tiny little things that you can influence. You have a kind of very predictable skill set, so you need to use it to its maximum benefit here. It also complicates, it changes entire compositions. You know, the Gnar not being able to be burst down, having to find the Soraka in the backline, but against the likes of a Lucian, Echo, Gnar to get through that to the Soraka, if Mithy positions well, will prove a very daunting task. But we see Splyce here. Vladimir, Ghost Flash, plus Shen ulti. Backline threat. If he can get to the Soraka, it's dead. But then again, if the silence can prevent all of this, so many plays possible in this matchup.
I'm just happy we got the Vladimir you talked about, Crepo, before as that last pick because it fits so well, you know, in these bulldozer comps. You need this ghost mid laner.
But it's not a surprise for G2. They saw
no. Yeah, definitely. I mean, whenever Vladimir is open in every region, you're kind of like, he's probably going to get picked by someone. He's such a strong pick in the current meta. But G2 getting that Echo again as the blind pick. Perkz clearly feeling very confident playing it against everything, basically, due to the wave clear he provides in lane. And I just want to see what Mithy can do in Soraka as well, because this bot lane, double range support in the bot lane, Crepo, is not something we see very often.
Yeah, I just want to see the Executioner's calling come out. Both these AD carries or supports have been so critical of people not building it, forgetting it to build it. So let's see.
First item, rush it.
Kovic changes his build path for it.
We'll find out how quickly they get their hands on Executioner's calling, if at all. The trophy on stage here in the Torin Arena in Krakow, Poland. G2 struck first in the summer finals. And they've got themselves a juicy, juicy team composition to potentially get their hands on the second win. Guys, you know the deal. You've watched this LCS stream for 12 weeks. Jump on Twitter. Let us know hashtag G2win or hashtag SpyWin. Because, of course, for Splyce, their back is against the wall. They have to win here to go to Worlds.
And for the local crowd, technically hashtag G2 wins means hashtag H2K win, because if G2 win the split, H2K will go to Worlds on championship points.
And I've heard the crowd here chanting for H2K all day long, especially with Jankos and Vander being on the analyst desk. Thanks to those guys being out there. Loading up onto the Rift now. So, let's take a look at these lanes. 2 range supports, quite different for Europe at least. We don't see this often, if at all, really.
I mean, generally, the rule of thumb when playing against the Soraka, rule number 1, don't trade on the AD carry. Only trade on the Soraka, because she has such efficient health funneling. The problem is that Sivir and Karma actually have such nasty trades that they may actually be able to kind of break that rule. There is even an Ignite on Mickey.
Yeah, you basically trade against the mana of Mithi. And obviously his own effective HP when he has to heal Sven as often as possible. If he has to drop low because Sven keeps taking so much harass, then you can get the Soraka out of the laning phase. But it's very difficult.
Yeah,
and we know Mithi is very confident playing Soraka against almost anything.
Yeah, and then the beauty is in actually only going for the Q harass when people are kind of forced into predictable movement. Mostly when they're going for a CS.
Yeah, step forward.
No AD carry is going to drop a CS to dodge the skill shot. Sadly, that's not how it rolls. They need that gold. Greedy bunch.
They need the numbers, because we always point out the numbers as well. It's actually our fault.
Capitalism is the fault.
The players have made it very clear just how important those numbers are to them,
Yes.
you know?
They always go like, no, I don't care about stats. But I do really care when it's a good stat.
We see a change up in jungle start pattern here though, because this Rek'Sai starting bot side. Usually a Rek'Sai starts on Gromp, then switches over to the other side and goes back while leaving blue up. But in this exact matchup, Trashy has actually invaded the blue buff later on. So if Trashy doesn't spot this and he goes for his traditional kind of cheesy counterplay, which is steal the blues away from Rek'Sai, he may actually find the Rek'Sai on that exact camp. Doubt it's going to happen though, because he's very far away on the map. Usually that would require him starting on the left top side as well. So maybe these guys are so deep in this mind game.
They mind game each other.
They have both of what's going on.
The thing is, it goes back to what we were saying. These teams have scrimmed each other for 2-3 months now. They're not that far ahead. Perkz and Senkex just trading a couple hits there. Perkz trying to get that passive off, but Senkex will be able to sustain relatively quickly.
But one of the things you also can do now, as this Echo in the mid lane, is when you know you're against a Gragas, well, you don't really expect him to gank you this early, or at least not to kill you if he does gank you. So you don't have to really respect it too much. You just start pushing early. And Vladimir is fairly weak the first few levels in lane. He needs a bit of time. He needs to scale up a little bit. We see obviously with the jungle pathing as well, Trashy's now gone to his red buff. You want to make sure you don't get invaded, so you want to get that red buff as early as possible.
Yeah, any junglers right now, on their first 3 camps, it will include both buffs. It is incredibly greedy to not do that anymore. We rarely see it happen, honestly. Unless you go for maybe the Krug's red Raptor clear, but that, I don't know, most of the time, people swing to the other side in time. We saw Perkz actually complete his move that he tried in last game with the Echo, pushed up the wave very quickly into this Vladimir, stole a couple of Raptors, and then got a quick level 2 trade in the mid lane that spiraled him ahead.
And now he gets his blue buff, so Trick timing his pathing, starting in the bottom lane with that early ward on blue buff, clears all the way up, so it's well timed when Perkz actually can start using the blue buff, even though it took him a little bit of time to get it.
Just a few extra hits.
A few extra hits. Then Perkz can get the blue buff and now just start perma-pushing mid again.
And it's honestly orchestrated fantastically well. This is not the first time G2 have pulled out this play, because the wave manipulation was perfect. Early push, base when the wave hits, teleport back to a tunnel, and this is how you abuse teleport. You push in the wave early, you disappear, and you get an item advantage, hopefully, that you then continuously push in the enemy mid laner and prevent him from basing, out-sustain him, and then kind of, by merit of your summoner spell, win the matchup.
Yeah, you should always use the first teleport to get back to lane. Yep. But then the second teleport is actually worth keeping, because then you start hitting level 6, level 7, and you can actually start going to other lanes with this TP, and it can be very useful to impact others than just yourself.
Especially when you look at Expect at the moment. He's been pushed in the entire time against Wonder. Had a great opening game, and really is kind of the player that I want to watch throughout this series. You know, he had to step in to replace Kikis many weeks ago, and honestly had a lot of weight that needed to be carried. He was not performing once he started playing for G2, but has progressively improved over the split as well.
But when G2 recruited him at the start, when he had to challenge for kind of a 2-man top laner situation with Kikis, he got the full confidence. They were confident in his growth. They said, you know what, he may not be the best right now, but we want to keep him. And when Kikis challenges Spot, G2 said, you know what, goodbye Kikis.
Yeah.
We believe in this player, we recruited him, we promised him a certain amount of playtime, and he's going to get that. And right now, he is improving, but he needs even more improvement, because if you head to Worlds,
Yeah,
Smeb's waiting.
he definitely needs more time, and he needs that boot camp. Trashy top lane though.
Well, we talked about Expect a whole lot. The crunch comes down, flash away, flash forward, first blood to Wonder.
And this is a little bit of a classic mistake from a lot of top laners. When they actually have that trinket ward ready, they don't get to place it when their wave starts pushing past the river. No one could spot Trashy. He sneaks in, he gets an easy gank.
Gentlemen,
Cast the curse.
Is that my fault? Did I make that happen by...
Second time with the cast the curse.
Third time and you're out. We're putting Pyra in.
It's actually not a good thing because, of course, G2 want to win this series for the local crowd. Specs down. All right, what does this mean for the lane matchup? Both flashes down. Obviously, Trashy has given Wonder a good leg up to continuing bullying.
Trashy right now gets an assist and he can steal away a Grump, which means he doesn't get out tempoed kind of by Trick here. Trick can't accelerate the
Favorite
farm
word.
here. Yeah, just
Say it again, Crep.
fit it into everything. He's out-tempoing the Raptors right now. We see Senkuk's out-tempoing first. No, but like, usually when you gank this early in Gragas, you fall very far behind in experience. Trashy falls a little bit behind in CS at least, but he needs to stay relevant so at least he can gank again on 6 and maybe get back. But Trick is farming up a Storm.
Right, but right now they're actually dead even in experience.
Yeah.
50% for both of them. So we'll hit 6 at the same time. This is the
Look at the
gank where I expect it's a tempo gank from Trashy, obviously coming in, flying in towards him, so there's no real chance for Expect to flash the body slam. No ward being placed in the river. Again, we see it.
Good sidestep by Wunder though. He stepped out of the stun and then used his flash to kind of finish that kill. So while it looks very easy, it was still a little bit of an alpha.
That is definitely a Wonder thing though. Like the micro moves he makes every single time are beautiful to watch, like the taunt flashes, sidestepping, certain skill shots. He's really good in just in terms of the pure mechanics.
Yeah, and if you actually get to watch player screens of players that are incredibly good at sidestepping, unless they run like really high DPI, one of the main indicators of why they're so good at it is because they click really close to their champion model. Because there's no turn speed in League of Legends, it's actually, why drag your mouse all the way if you can click right next to your model? That's one of the main mistakes of rookie players.
Very effective against Cassiopeia as well.
Yeah.
Useless aside of the day. First backs for AD carries. Boots, BF Sword picked up. A couple of cookies.
Love me
Pink
some
ward
cookies.
for Mythy. Actually, more pink wards currently on the G2 squad side. And early swap here from Splyce. They instantly back copy with that BF Sword. Gonna get to this tower with a lot of support from Splyce.
Yeah, he really does not want to build that execution of Scowling, so he's just gonna rotate away from the Soraka. Trashy's revealing here, challenging to go up. He gets it again, I think.
Does pick it up, but more importantly here for Splyce, they had a wave pushing from Wonder, was building up towards the tower. They got the recall off and moved to this lane, so they get a lot of damage on this top tower. It's gonna go down before G2 can get it to the bottom lane. So really good swap, and again, many things goes into these swaps here. First of all, you gotta be able to push in the wave in the bottom lane and recall first. Second of all, you need your top laner, obviously, to have a minion advantage.
And this goes back, honestly, 2 minutes. Guess what happened? Wunder got an advantage because Trashy ganked. We saw the Karma pick with the Sivir always have control of where they can position the minion wave. They cleared out the wave. They based on BF timing, rotated top. They leaned in on the advantage that Wunder got generated by him by the jungler. So this is a team effort, except for Senkux. He's playing bad.
And he's in a little bit of pressure here. Perks keeps jumping on and playing very aggressively. The thing is, Senkux is farming up. So despite all of the pressure of that level 4 blue buff from Perks on Echo, it's not equated into lane control just yet.
Because right now, Senkux has a counter pick, and he is the one that gets to build the Negaturn Cloak first, which means mid lane becomes a lot easier to play.
Yeah, no one is gonna die in this lane, but at the same time, Echo is not looking to kill anyone here at level 6. You need to get a protocol completed. You want the Pistol Scepter, then you can start diving the backline. And that's kind of the key thing. But yeah, Vladimir generally never dies in lane because you just stack early MR, and there's very little you can do against it.
It's honestly just a race to clear the minions out as fast and annoying as possible. That's it.
Trashy once again, consistently in this jungle here of G2, trying to take away the Gromp, blue buff.
At what point does the CS difference start becoming problematic? Just quickly looking at the items as well, Sightstone as well as those Merc trades for Trick.
Yeah, so the CS advantage that Trick has generated is not being funneled into kind of raw power, dueling prowess. It's been funneled
Vision
into
control.
vision. Love me some vision control, but still, is it the right approach? Because Tiamat just seems so efficient on Rek'Sai.
Yeah, there's basically 2 options right now. Tiamat is much better if you're AFK farming. But if you actually want to build towards, like, especially these mid-game team fights... Oh, Trashy stole it! Oh, he's so annoying right now.
That's 3 camps in a row, 2 Grumps and a blue buff. And Trashy is taken away while still ganking. He is one of the first few junglers that are actually challenging Trick in the early game.
It's not about the CS deficit It's about sending a message on the CS you secure.
And it's about denying blue buff from the Echo, who needs it so badly in this lane here. And this sets Perkz slightly behind. Again, it's small victories for Splyce, but about that Rek'Sai build. Tiamat, yes, better for AFK farming, but going Sidestone and chilling smite, the blue smite, and then this rushing full tank does make you very, very strong in these first few fights, and you're basically just a CC machine. You're not built to kill anyone. But if you look at the composition from Splyce, Trick isn't really gonna go in and kill anyone. It's a lot of tanks. It's a Vladimir who's diving his backline, and he's never gonna reach the Sivir properly. So he's just saying, I just want to survive, and I want to put down vision.
He just want to make maximum use of that effective HP that Soraka generates him. That definitely helps if you can heal a tank. They just get much more value out of it. However, you can also keep your tank DPS machine alive on the other side of the coin.
We're very even now at 10 minutes. We're looking at these team comps, and does Splyce's comp somewhat outscale G2 if they can contain expect, if they can slow
They have
that?
Sivir Vladimir. I don't think there's a single Sivir Vladimir comp that ever gets outscaled. It might get equally scaled. But
So how did G2 win?
I mean, there's still quite some time before we at that late game point where obviously Sivir wants to hit 3 items, that's a massive power spike. Vladimir is actually the same, also get to that 3 item point and you become an absolute monster in these fights.
10,000 gold helps.
So G2 definitely have a lot of time to play this out still, and gotta keep in mind again, Echo does benefit a lot from some of these first few items he picks up, like the Proto Belt, to start them diving in and being aggressive.
But it will be very important for Splyce to find Mythi in these fights. If they just blindly hit away on the front line, Mythi's heals will be invaluable.
He shows his face in the mid lane yet. A real threat onto Perkz with his flash up, the phase dive and the chrono break down bottom. Copy's just going to sidestep, get, I believe, the movement speed increase there from Defiance on Mickey, and Trashy's got support from Senkux. G2, they're backing away.
I really like this play here from Splyce because top lane Shen is pushing already, so there's no chance for G2 to try and trade a tower. So by sending 4 members bot lane plus having the Global of Wonder, you just force G2's bottom lane to step away from tower, play very passive, and potentially even surrender a wave.
But they have nobody tanked the culling here, which means it's a hard reset on the play because Perkz is putting pressure on mid. You could now technically roam top to put some pressure on Shen, who then has to back off. It's kind of funneling over of advantages, you know. You buy some time in the mid lane and you spend that in the bottom lane, but because the culling cleared out the wave, it was a hard reset. But the concept is so great by Splyce. Moving 5 members to the bottom, threatening the dive, telling G2, please step away from your turret. We are here to claim it for ourselves.
And G2 right now are just waiting for that first full item to complete. Black Cleaver for Gnar is a massive thing against Shen. Proto Belt for Echo is a massive deal as well. Because then you can actually start putting more pressure in your lanes. And right now Expect is getting pushed down. Well, it's going to turn. It's going to be Expect pushing in Wonder, and then suddenly you have a winning lane on the side of G2.
Yeah, the 2 item spike here throws them out, keeping them close, and then Black Cleaver penetrating the armor. That's the point where Gnar is the happiest, because after that, Wonder is just going to keep stacking, you know, armor unless he wants to invest a little bit into magic resistance versus Perkz. But he will definitely outscale in terms of tankiness then. He will still maybe lose the minion wave pressure, but he'll never get to a point where Expect breaks out a tower.
Yeah, it's very different scaling, honestly. Just one going full tank, so yeah, he will be harder to kill in the late game, definitely. But because he will get outscaled in terms of damage and push, well then he will lose automatically that side lane. So you just have different ways you're scaling with Gnar and with Shen.
Of course, for Splyce, no team cup screams winning in the late game. No real surprises as far as itemization goes. We're even at 13 minutes. Still that CS deficit by Trashy, but it doesn't mean anything as we continue to play out. It's staying the same 15 CS right now.
It will be a test of skill here for G2 because they're running a composition with kind of double conditional engage. Like a Gnar kind of wants somebody else to set up for him or flank. And Echo landing a W in a fight is honestly very hard. So unless Trick kind of finds a knock-up or we have a really good pincer flank, G2's gonna have a hard time actually hard CCing somebody. Yeah,
G2's basically running the standard 1-3-1 comp where you have these 2 winning side lanes, the Echo and the Gnar, and then by pushing these 2 side lanes, you can then collapse towards the mid lane and roam in there, and then you don't need the hard engage because you can just flank engage every time and use double teleport as well. That's kind of your way to play for G2. They're looking for a gank and top.
Well, they're gonna find it. Wonder's already flashed. Flash from Trick, gets the knock-up from the Unburrow. Spirit's Refuge buys a few seconds. The Hyper's not gonna proc from Expect. Down in the bottom lane. Body Slam flash is available for Trashy, but he's not gonna commit. Trick pieces out. Gonna use that Void Rush and support his duo lane. So, thwarted gank. trading flash for flash.
A lot of respect there. They just didn't want to pull the trigger because Wunder would have to land on maybe 20-30% HP because when he starts channeling, Expect would start hitting them too. But all this movement has left mid tower exposed and Perkz is looking to finish it off.
Chrono Break already used, Sanguine Pool comes out. Perkz has got a lot of hit points to work with. There's the damage and the transfusion. Senkux continues to back away.
The hesitation and not being on the same page during that play in the bottom has left their mid lane tower exposed. If Thrashy goes all the way that deep, they need to pull the trigger or get the Shen ulti, or they need to predict that it's not going to happen. Right now, it's Sven. Second time in this series.
Well, there we go.
Maybe he's lagging.
A little bit of lag.
I mean, if Sven is watching his own game, he would call this AD carry many names. Overextended. Minimap is broken.
Right. He did actually talk about this during the bot lane stream you and Mythy had, where he said as an AD carry himself, when he's farming in lane, often he just plays like, you know, locked camera. He just focuses only on last hitting and he doesn't look at the minimap. He needs Mythy to call for him. Well,
Mythy's fault.
Clearly right now Mythy wasn't calling it, so he just ends up overextending, and that's actually a pretty big mistake from Sven and G2.
It means a lot to me that the two supports in the desk will be willing to put all the blame on Mythy's shoulders. Down the bottom lane, Perkz is in trouble. He actually, I think, teleported to this tower. Will be able to defend it. It's not done yet.
Yeah, Mythy called him over to the bot lane, told Perkz to wait, but he did it.
It's not over, they're going in!
Exactly what he did. Body slam, flash. Perkz is gonna flash away. The wish saves Perkz' life for now. The ignite's ticking down. The Grogs, they kill him. They use the map in PvE, and raid boss minions take it down. In the back end, Kobe dies as Expect completes his teleport in Mega Gnar. Now Wonder's running for his life. Trashy's running, can't dodge the ice barrel. It's a double kill for Trick.
Perkz sucked them into the play. He survived so long, mostly due to Miffy, but a Krug's overdose proved to be fatal. But they got 2 kills on the back end. There's more.
There is indeed. Hemo Plague onto Sven. The culling gets dropped away from as the Sanguine Pool comes out. HP up for Senkux. G2, they're going to look to take down the tower, and I don't think it can be defended.
Same kind of setup, honestly, where Splyce, they have some good calls in the early game. They know where to pressure on the map, but then the execution sometimes just lacks a little bit, and G2 every single time are just able to either chip down a tower or just pick up a return kill, and therefore get a goal lead.
And Expect again playing the global game very well. He comes in with that teleport and he influences the fight the same way in game 1. He was there. This is mainly overreaching here. Look at how much Perkz soaks up at the end of this play. Mythy continuously healing him after the fight goes in again.
So the defense is good here, but then Splyce realizes with the Shen ulti, they can actually go for the dive. So they go in for Perkz, get him just low enough, and Kobe flashes forward, gets the last hit, plus obviously a little bit of help as well from Splyce.
Krug live.
So they get that kill, but now Expect comes in from behind with great teleport, and this is always the issue. The plan might be to go for the dive, but you also need an escape plan. Splyce in this case didn't have one.
So G2 come away. They have built up a small advantage from this second tower of the game. Minute gold advantage. Looking at items, Proto Belt picked up for Senkux, Abyssal for Perkz. And unfortunately, it's a Cloud Drake, so it's not the highest priority in terms of objectives to fight for. We're approaching 20 minutes, well, 18 and a half, and it'll live to fight another day.
Yeah, at this point, you know, with Dragons, in the current meta, when you have these professional teams, especially in Europe, they actually only really care about Infernal Drake.
Yep.
Almost every other Drake, they're like, nah, you know what, I'd actually rather try and get a tower or maybe get a Rift Herald. Like, these objectives are considered more valuable. Trashy is taking everything away from Trick, but Trick is killing his teammates. So I guess it's a bit of an even trade, and maybe Trick is happy enough actually losing a few
I take your
CS
camps,
here and there.
I take my teammates. Sounds like a fair trade.
But again, yeah, Cloud Drake, we don't need to call out Cloud Drake specifically, Ocean Drake, Mountain Drake. The teams, they really just want Infernal Drake, or they want towers, or look for more potential fights. That's really how they want to snowball in this standard lane meta.
And the snowball hasn't really started yet. Still very, very even, despite that dive sort of going wrong on the back end. I still think the idea was good from Splyce. And this game, Splyce have been very proactive and made mostly the right calls, but maybe the execution kind of let them down just ever so slightly.
And we're entering a different phase of the game. This is where the AD carries enter into the mid lane, and 1-3-1 becomes the strategy to play here. Senkux and Perkz are doing it on the top lane, but there's always Stand United available.
There really is. Proto Belt forward. Perkz can't get away from this one. Gets run down. It did cost a Stand United, but what can G2 take anywhere else on the map?
I mean, the cross-map play is not there because Expect is stuck on a really long lane, and mid lane, it is just even numbers here against the Soraka, who usually has to yield the minion pressure. She can heal up the AD carry, but Soraka isn't really a good duelist, which means Senkux and Wunder, they're just going to keep on hammering down on that turret.
Yeah, and this is definitely on Perks. Once we see Wunder, he will be able to walk away. Trick doesn't have a whole lot of damage with that blue
tank.
smite and full tank, obviously, as we talked about earlier. But when you play 1-3-1, if your other lanes are not in a position to put pressure in case the enemy team sends multiple members to one lane, well, then you should never play aggressive.
Yeah.
And Perks jumped on Senkux himself.
But Splyce realized that this was a good opportunity to use the Stand United. There was no punishment available. Look at the bot lane right now. The wave is at the turret. So Wunder says, you know what? I have about 2 minutes to spare. I can come to the top lane Senkux. Whether it's baiting or getting caught, we're leaving in the middle here.
No, purely baiting, honestly. He's not even close to dying.
It's Vladimir.
He's Vladimir. He just
Never
pulls,
dies.
he gets Shen ulti. Like, again, minimap. Before we got out of the replay. But Expect had
Still there.
literally just walked into the bottom lane by the time Perks died. You cannot do this. 1-3-1 is all about communication. If the rest of the team is not in position to push anything, you do not play aggressive yourself. You wait for at least 2 winning lanes to push forward, and then you can play aggressive.
Yeah, for example, now Perks has the push on top lane, which means he can use that time for something else. He could roll mid, potentially teleport top later. He could TP bot if there was a way to catch that Shen. Obviously not the right play, but this is just an example of what's possible. Step number 1 in 1v1 is always to at least have one side lane pushing and then look for an advantage on the other side of the map.
Yeah, once you have identified, you know, what is the objective you're going for, so in this case for G2 it's gonna be the Dragon. That means they don't have to really push the lanes too far. They just need bottom and mid lane to push in a lane, and then you can actually get free access to Dragon.
Yeah, and that means Perks now has to play careful because his team is committing 4 on the bot side of the map, which means he's alone in the top side. He's playing careful, but Trashy is lurking around.
And this is where Echo's really good, because he has this very slow wave clear where he just fires the Q across all the minions, and you can do it from very safe distance. So you can see here, Perks just cleared the entire wave despite being under pressure from Trashy. And this is where, again, this AP Echo can so easily just defend the tower as long as he stays back.
Splyce gets some value on the retreat. They have some pink wards placed already. They get a little bit of vision denial here. Very reminiscent to game 1, where G2 had control over the Baron area. It's not a perfect sweep. There may be some wards hidden, so they're not going to hard commit. But Splyce right now, the dominant team in the mid game.
All right, so taking a look at that play, Splyce able to get the vision, punishing G2's decision to go for Dragon. G2 have already been punished for that maybe overextended Perks.
With
right?
the Perks one before,
on the
yes.
side lane. Now, the reason I highlight that, Frozen Mallet and Black Cleaver picked up for Expect. If they're going to go for this 1-3-1, they can't afford to be out of position multiple times.
But if you look at your minimap now, you suddenly see a Gnar in the bottom lane pushed towards Splyce, past the river. This means Wunder can't really just ulti away instantly, because then Expect gets a lot of damage on this bot lane tower, and that's why Perks now can actually stay in his lane, don't have to fear the TP from Shen instantly. But if Expect backs away, then Perks has to back away as well, otherwise Wunder joins one more time and kills him.
So that's what we're looking for here for G2 to really feel like, oh, little reset on the Grump. Looking for G2 to, you know, push backwards and forwards together in unison, make sure their vision and their communication is on point.
Yeah, and then it becomes a vision game. Every time you get the wave push, you don't trade it for much. You trade it for clearing or placing a couple of wards, and then eventually you can get access to an objective where Fog of War is your ally and you're hiding in the mist and you can maybe strike. But that is a very elaborate process, especially against Strict with the blue smites dice zone. Keeping Senkux busy here, but Trashy's in. Backup arrives.
Gentlemen, Executioner's callings are plenty. G2 and Splyce, both Sven and Cobby picked those up, trying to deal with one another's healing opportunities. At least somewhat, ever so slightly.
And it seems like such a simple thing. Like, why is it even worth highlighting when every pro player should realize this? Well, the reason it's worth highlighting is because we often see pro players forget about it.
This item is incredibly stat efficient. The only caveat to it is not slot efficient, but AD carries don't have to worry about that. Like, these are the guys that don't sell Adorns to pick up a pink ward. They can fit in an Executioner's Calling in their inventory.
I've heard that disappointed statement many a time.
I need that extra 8 damage, or whatever it is.
Taking a look at the rest of the items, Frozen Fist here picked up for Trashy, full tank still for Trick, Ruby Syston already upgraded. I mean, the game is even. We're 25 minutes in. Yes, G2 got an extra tower and a dragon, but they're not in control of the map. They're still playing more heavily on their side of the river. And actually it looked like Senkax was kind of pushed away there by the damage of Perk.
Yeah, but we have to keep in mind Splyce are okay. Just keep farming it. Actually go for Sven.
Oh wow, find an engage on the sideline. Sven's taken down. Didn't even see him get caught. And Splyce have found two. Expect is forced to hop away as the Boomerang Blade tags him on the way out. Kobe turns his focus to the tower and Perks, he's late to the party. Expect used that teleport and it simply didn't work out.
Very, very good engage from Wonder and Splyce here, but Sven didn't flash away when he saw the taunt. He got caught by it, he died instantly.
Flashed after.
He flashed after, and you never flash after because then you're gonna die anyway.
The flash of shame, and honestly the execution is calling blocked. So much healing there with the Grievous Wounds right now. We have 4,000 HP on the Baron and one man with one mission, Trick. He has to steal it to prevent Splyce from snowballing the game, but meanwhile Perks is going in too.
Trix hasn't been able to secure his own camps all game long. Can he take the Baron? This is a gigantic turnaround. Trick gets the kill, turns it around with the help of Expect. Expect land a multi-man Nara against the wall, but it simply will not matter. These are lives lost to stop the Baron, and G2 will likely be happy with that.
Well, again, if you're Splyce here, you almost got into a 50-50 smite here. Oh, Sven jumps forward, not able to do anything. So if you are Splyce, could have gone a lot worse here. Could have lost that Baron in a 50-50 to the Rek'Sai. Instead, they pick up a few more kills because G2 obviously went aggressive to try and stop the play.
And it's so satisfying to watch some of these teams operate in high-pressure situations where you need to make a cutthroat call. Do you go for the finish? How do you deal with an Echo that's ravaging through your backline? Yes, you have numbers advantage, but this Baron's whacking away. And right now, G2 are trying to use momentum and positional advantage and more important, vision control to start this Baron, but it's slow.
They're hoping Splyce is sleeping right now, not even thinking about the Baron, but they're already on the way.
Teleports being channeled, Wonder's coming in from behind. Baron's down to 4,000 and Wonder's going to be able to taunt from behind. Look at Mythy and Perks. Expect is on the Baron. It's picked up by G2, but at what cost? There's already the first victim as Perks is killed in the pit. Expect gets popped as it's a double kill for Kobe. 3 members of G2 are running for their lives, and it looks like they might make it out.
That was so risky, but a fantastic call, honestly, from G2 in the heat of the moment just to start that Baron. Splyce needed just a few more seconds to completely collapse and kill every single member. Let's see if Splyce can at least get a mid tower as well. So despite losing that Baron, they got 2 kills. Trick is around, there's no teleports from G2 either.
And so important, the 2 kills they get are on the primary one, side lane pushes and Expect and Perks.
There is a pivot you can do. You can put Trick as a side lane split pusher here with the Baron buff as the Rek'Sai, but look how close it goes here. This is a matter of seconds here. Sven with a good juke on the Boomerang. Everybody is focusing down that Baron. I want you to watch Trashy and the predict barrel that comes out to maybe get somebody back into the fight, but Sven is out just before, so that would have been ugly. If that barrel actually connects on Sven, we have an entirely different situation. But overall, G2, I think they played it pretty well, stopping the Baron and then claiming it for their own. Fantastic calling.
Yeah, definitely fantastic shot calling, but a lot of credit still to Splyce from winning that fight where they get a good engage in mid, actually go to the Baron and then engage on G2 as well, take the fight instead of trying to go for 50-50 smite. We don't like those 50-50 smites, they're rarely needed, and instead they actually picked up more kills, but then with G2 being so quick on the trigger, they managed to pick it up. Everyone from Splyce, except for the Shen, is around here, going for Kobe.
Kobe's close. Splyce is looking to yield this. They're only looking to make G2 waste time, because look at the top lane. Wunder's in position to pressure that. They want to stall out Baron, and the best way to do that is just to put side lane minion wave pressure, because G2 will always have to react here. So they trade the Dragon and waste some time from G2 Esports to slow down these Baron pushes.
Let's remember there's no teleport from G2. Trashy is in the bottom lane. He has a Shen ulti available. Mythy is smart here, just backing away. Do not stay under that tower, even though it's a 2v2.
But has
never 2v2.
Has he told Sven?
Well, he has told him now. Sven is at the tower and recalling as well.
It's very important.
Looks like he has, as Sven has backed away. And despite G2 getting the Baron, getting away, they are down in gold still. Splyce have got 10 kills to G2's 3, and now we'll see what G2 can do with that last minute of Baron buff.
But the nature of the game is that, yes, these outer turrets will fall, traded one side to the other, perhaps not.
Sounds so sad about it.
But the Baron's down, which means we actually may be in for a very long one, because the next objective is obviously, undoubtedly, gonna be that next Baron again.
But isn't that good for Splyce and their team composition? We're 30 minutes in. Splyce have a minor lead. It's not much to speak of. And they've got some timing. They know when the next Baron's up. They can set up some vision and maybe set up the play around it.
I mean, we always have to remember in terms of just gold efficiency, like getting this amount of gold on a Sivir compared to a Lucian is always in favor of the Sivir. She's kind of survived the early to mid game where Lucian can be very strong. She's now hit 3 items, so she's very, very close. If it wasn't for that BF's already picked up, he would already have completed his 3rd item. So this is great for Copy. He's more than fine being just slightly ahead in gold over Sven, just due to how well Sivir is scaling.
Yeah, definitely so. If you look Perks later on, there is a point where AP Echo will always be able to one-shot Kobe if he makes a mistake. It has to be a grave mistake.
Forget the spell shield, don't click heal. Don't
Yeah.
get a shield from your support as well.
I mean, I've been in the darkest corners of solo queue, dude.
True,
I've
true.
seen it all. But yeah, also very, very important will just be Mythy. Because if Vladimir, if you look at Splyce, they have certain plays in mind. Like this.
And this is exactly what they're doing, throwing everything forward. Hemoplague's got them. Mithy's the target, he's already done. Wonder finds Sven, and Splyce are flying at a mile a minute. They take down 2, they take a tower, and they're not done yet.
Yeah, that works as well. I was about to say Mythy needs to be on the money with the silence, but it doesn't matter if they get honestly stampeded. Trick is right here, he's trying to catch the wave. He's trying to sneak behind the Splyce lineup and then intercept the wave and prevent it from hitting the turret here, but he's spotted by the sentries. And Splyce sent out. Look at it, Perks too.
On the way.
They just want to pull the wave, potentially with 1 casualty, because if the minions don't reach the tower, they're a lot stronger.
And Splyce can just try and chase here.
That's
try and get Perks. Won't catch him for now. Maybe Wonder will get the taunt on him. Has no flash actually, and Perks can dash soon.
Longest chase,
Yeah,
dash
there we go.
away.
That
Perks will not get taunted today.
Well played by G2 here, just buying enough time. 2 members respawn now. Splyce says, well, maybe shouldn't chase for the Rex and just try and actually stop Perks from even hitting that wave in the first place. Just group around the minion wave when it pushes to that mid tower, and then you take the mid tower.
Honestly, if you've ever seen the Mighty Ducks, the flying V is what you want to do. Protect that minion wave at all costs, because Trick was merely a distraction to open up for Perks to go in. And right now, G2 is claiming a tower back for these 2 kills. Remember that Splyce used a bunch of ultimates on that play too. The game is stalling out yet again.
Yeah, Splyce a little bit too greedy here for the kills and gets punished for it. But still, composition-wise, like, G2 should not be able to win these late game fights because Perks is so far behind. And again with Echo, when you do dive in onto a squishy, if he has no protection, yes, you can get him very low, maybe even kill him. But you have Spell Shield, Heal, you have Locket as well from Splyce, Karma Shields. There are so many ways of protecting Copy in this game here. It should not be possible for Perks to kill him. And that's the backline threat really of G2, is Perks trying to go in and assassinate together with Expect on this Gnar.
Yeah, especially with Trick, who got out of the field into support, it seems. Ruby, Sidestone, Murkreds, I mean, no Tiamat, full tank. So what do you expect from... I mean, we've seen it before from him, but just not much damage, so he's not a threat here, really, into Kobe at all.
Playing that utility role and maybe amplifying their ability to play 1-3-1 might be the concept. Expecto with that GA and the potential to split push control a side lane hasn't had the opportunity to do so. We haven't seen G2 really get past their own river in, well, ever, maybe, this game.
Well, it was for a while, but it's just they couldn't capitalize on it, and there was always really good reactions from Wunder. The second he got a small push, he went to mid, and then that play happened, and ever since, the cadence of the game has been in favor of Splyce.
Well, the problem for G2 is the fact their mid lane can never push. You have a Soraka. If you push forward as Soraka
I'm disappointed.
versus Sivir, Karma, Gragas, you know, Shen ulti coming in, there's so much mobility to catch Mythy every time, so G2 never really have the ability to push multiple lanes at the same time in this game. Also because they obviously got shut down in the start a little bit with the Gnar, got very delayed for him to really take over the lane, so Splyce have just been in a very good position, and they should be able to execute these later team fights.
Yeah, and also means it's really hard for Trick to actually get the vision that he has anywhere placed, because in the 1-3-1, the 3-man unit in the mid lane is the jungler support and AD carry, and if both of them are very utility oriented, they won't actually have much presence or pressure to kind of force somebody off a wave. Whereas Thrashy, he always has kill pressure with that build, you know, if you play against Sivir Karma, and that's what they've done right now. Splyce have choked out G2, who have more wards available, but they haven't been able to place them.
Right, Trick.
Yes, Tremor
Get in
Sense.
place. The Tremor Sense will give this one away. Remember, 50-50 if it goes low. Splyce turn their attention to Perks. Perks going to be able to phase dive away. And Baron is regenning. Expect coming in with Mega Gnar. Senkux is going to proto belt forward. They haven't killed Sven. Now Splyce are in trouble. That's a great taunt from Wonder. And the barrel separates the fight with Sven and Mythy down. Splyce should be able to run away with this one. And they set their sights on the mid lane.
Yeah, it looked good for a fraction of a second when Senkux went in and Sven seemingly was kiting, but then the attention got turned. Both Sven and Mithy got taken down at the same time, and Splyce are reigning supreme in this game 2 of this best of 5.
Great mental fortitude here from the Splyce players after a tense game 1. They've held the lead really since the moment they recalled and did that delayed lane swap. Now Splyce in a little bit of trouble. Expect can go Mega Gnar shortly. Tricks going forward. He's tanky, not a lot of damage. The Gnar goes backwards and Trashy in one descent between the goalposts. GA has popped. Perks is in trouble. He proto-belts away, sidesteps the taunt, goes golden thanks to the hourglass, and Trick is being run down. The tunnel sends him to safety, and on the back end, Expect gets a small kill onto Mickey, but it is a small victory after losing their base.
Yeah, G2 just trying to get a few return kills. Do not really have any damage when they jump on Trashy either with like this Rek'Sai and the Gnar at this point. They might try and rush just for Baron as a last attempt here. They do have TP on Perks in about 30 seconds.
And this is G2 being aware that if another situation unfolds where it's a full-on 5v5 with all cooldowns available, they will not win the fight. So they're trying to chase the loss here, get some return kills, and maybe get the Baron, because they know if the game slows down again to a full reset, Splyce will repeat the exact same trick again. Vision Denial, Fog of War, and then a TP play.
Yeah, teleport comes in from behind. Mithy's the next target once again. For the 4th time this game, he is taken down. Copy 5-1-9. He's got all the damage in the world to deal with G2 Esports. Body slam, flash, barrel, Sven. He dashes away. On the hunt comes out, and Copy got his second of the fight. Copy's running down Trick as the rest of Splyce are stunned against the wall by a big Gnar from Expect. He will get killed on the back end as Trick is able to tunnel to safety, but now Splyce, they can push in even further. 40, 50-second death timers for Sven and Expect respectively.
And Splyce pushing down towards the Nexus here. What a well-played game from them. G2 getting punished multiple times. Why not ulti you mid lane? I won last time.
Yeah, get into the base. 2 super minions to play with. Trick and Perks trying to disrupt the back line. There's a good kill into Cobby, but it's a 4v2. The supers are coming in. I take it back as Mithy's respawn. Manages to defend and buy G2 a few extra seconds. They lost 1 Nexus turret and about 50% HP on the last. Splyce a tad too greedy.
I told you Perks could take out
Yay! He got Copy in the very end. No, G2 knows. Again, they're not going to win a 5-on-5 team fight, so they have to keep rushing for this Baron and just hope that Splyce is not able to contest it. Copy did for now 25 seconds. Expect is alive now. This might be the very, very last chance for G2, and even with the AD carry down, it's not easy to take this Baron.
Yeah, but they're about to get a quick reminder how strong late lane Vladimir is. Wunder's there too. It's going to be a standoff.
There is indeed. Perks is going to try and interrupt. He jumped onto Mickey. And going to back away. Protobelt's already used. Baron's down to below 50%. Hemoplague is out. Perks goes down, gets a small shield from the parallel convergence. Baron is the focus. Picked up by Splyce. Trashy secures it all game long. He's had Trick's number. It's going to go down by the GA. G2 look like they may have won this fight at least, but at the cost of Baron on 4 members of Splyce.
Yeah, now that El Bandito is no longer in the LCS, Trashy's making a big claim for the Prince of Thieves in this series. 2 Grumps, a blue buff, and an Asher on the board right now, and this is the final nail in the coffin, honestly, for G2, but it makes me very excited what the rest of this series is going to bring.
The tension in both of these games, it's been palpable. There's going to be a replay once again of that last Baron fight. I didn't actually see how early Trashy went into the pit as we were following Perks in the fight.
Well, at this point, all G2 can really do is try and burst down the Baron and take the 50-50, because you are this far behind. You're never going to win otherwise. Trashy's full HP Gragas. He can easily dive in and sit in that Baron pit together with Wonder and goes in.
Working together.
802 HP. Great smite from Trashy. Picks up the kill.
I almost felt like both factions unite to fight a common foe. The Baron. And once the raid boss is down, they look at each other and remember they were on a PvP server. Start slaughtering each other.
And Splyce were over-leveled, over-geared, and easily crushed. Jeez.
They were running some serious twinks there. Broken.
So up to Splyce now to close this one out. Game 1 went to a little over 41 minutes with G2. Actually, with G2 really being in control of the macro game. You know, the bigger picture, and some great micro plays. This time around, you think it's fair to say Splyce have been in better control of the macro from those early game decisions, build up the lead, never let G2 go on that 1-3-1?
Yeah, they definitely have played their draft out well too. They like understood what lanes to focus. Trashy, honestly, for me, MVP this game, he was everywhere he needs to be. Like, the first gank that he put out on the top lane was so important, especially because he combined that with a Gromp steal. He failed, or he didn't get behind against Strict, something very few junglers can do, honestly, against this monster Rek'Sai.
Right, up in the top lane. On the hunt used by Cobby. This is Chemo Plague in the back line. The tower is the focus. Senkax has gone all the way forward. Is already taken down. Sven gets another onto Mickey. As in the back line, Trick is killed. Splyce are in a 5v2. They turn their attention to the tower. Wonder with the flashy Z taunt is going to pick up yet another, and 4 members of G2 Esports are down. Splyce with a 10,000 gold lead. Look to finish out game 2, turn their attention to the Nexus turrets, turn their attention to the Nexus, and prove they have what it takes to go toe-to-toe with G2, evening up the series 1-1.
Really well played by Splyce in this game here, punishing multiple mistakes from G2 in the early to mid game. Think back to Perks overextending, Sven overextending, like these guys making too many mistakes on the map where Splyce can just walk down and pick up easy kills. And then it's very hard to play 1-3-1 once you fall behind.
It is so rare to see this from Sven. 2 games consecutively though, overextending on the side lane and getting caught. This is not what we're used to. Also, Splyce just ahead of the curve too, you know, when they pushed out bot lane, rotated top, took that first tower down, after the gank that actually pulled in the top lane, they were continuously in control of this game. But it does beg the question, what side is G2 gonna opt for? Because it seems that red side reigns supreme here in the pick and ban, and then what's Splyce gonna do to adapt, you know, to a potential Senkax weakness again in the mid lane?
I mean, taking a look at that game, all the macro decisions and then also the team fight decisions around Baron, it felt like there were 3 or 4 really pivotal fights and pivotal team fights. Splyce committing, then peeling away, G2 deciding to make those plays. It's good to see the whole team on the same page. Let's excuse some of those micro decisions, but does it feel like everybody's doing the right thing, focusing on the right objective, or rather peeling and fighting for teams? Because those are mistakes that we've seen from EU teams all split long, not being on the same page, or half rushing, half peeling, you know, half fighting, for example.
No, I don't think Splyce made, honestly, any mistakes in terms of fighting. In this game here, they
maybe the dive.
I mean, the one dive, yeah, and that's about it. But apart from that, everything else was beautifully coordinated by them. You have double speed up with 2 tanks in the front, and you chase a Soraka down who can't escape. So it was very easy for them to kind of punish this Soraka pick from Mithy, and also just punish G2 again from honestly falling behind with the 1-3-1 comp.
The best thing for me to see is that both these teams have shown at least a mastery over Baron vision control. So the way to close out games, like both of them managed to not go for it too quickly, really focus on vision denial, got some deep vision in, and then forced the other team to face check and then got advantages off of that. And they understood that the map was played supposed to be played on 3 lanes, not 1. So we're seeing vast improvement from, honestly, some of the third place match and some of the prior matches in quarterfinals to right now the final.
The general level just seems to be a whole step above what else we've seen. So Splyce, they are fighting hard. Remember, they are still playing for Worlds qualification. They have to win here or win in the gauntlet. Let's hear what the analyst desk thinks about how they won game number 2.
Thank you so much, Quickshot. I will ask them immediately. And specifically what you guys talked about, the macro game. We saw yesterday that in your match, it was a lot of going mid and kind of seeing what would happen from there out. Do you feel like you see a higher level of macro from both of these teams, Vander?
Well, I think the overall play around Baron is much smoother. And also what I like this game is the resub from bot lane. When the Wunder got killed, so it was really crucial because their bot lane matchup is kind of bad after level 5 for Severe Karma, and then it allowed them to just keep laning first for the entire game because like we push 1 tower, both towers will be down, so then it's just a pushing game, right?
Yeah, so it does seem that getting the advantage in general over expecting a top lane for Wunder is important, but you wanted to highlight where it went wrong for Splyce.
Well, that's where we can highlight it in just a second. I wanted to get Yanko's take first a little bit on that presence in the top lane, because it was Shen again for Wunder when we look at the picks and bans phase. This time, though, with a jungler going top, how key is that in a matchup? I mean, Vander talked about the swap that follows, but is that the pivotal moment of the game already, like 3.5 minutes in?
Well, I do believe that Shen wins really hard early game versus Gnar, simply because if you get 1 taunt off, that means Gnar is probably trying to have HP, even less. If you get a gank off, which is simple as well, all you have to do is E-flash with Gragas or E-flash with Shen, then the lane snowballs hard towards the Shen lane. Nar just has to scale. I believe G2 tried to play to their strengths, but they just failed. And when Wander got going with his team, they just played the comp really well and they snowballed.
Did you notice the work that Trashy was doing in this matchup? Because we noticed that he was putting in a lot, stealing a lot of buffs, going in and putting a lot more pressure on Trick. How much does it have to do with the fact that he gets his hands on the Gragas in this case?
Well, I do think Gragas is actually a good matchup to Rek'Sai, simply because if you scale, Gragas is just 10 times stronger. And if Shen is winning the side lane, he can always TP to Gragas, so Gragas can kind of do whatever he wants. And then they just played really good with that, you know. As long as you use Shen ult and you swap and you run around well with Sivir, I think G2 just got simply outdrafted.
I agree. And I think the ban of GP was really smart for Splyce because they noticed that G2 doesn't really prioritize Shen. They want to counter pick it, and because Shen doesn't necessarily win lane against Trundle or Gnar. Like later he will be losing. Like he maybe wins early, as Janko said, and GP. So those picks all outscale Shen and speed pushing later. But if you can make the gank happen, you reswap, and then you just play the whole map with Shen ult, it's really hard for enemy team to do anything.
Let's take a look at one of those Shen ults. This is the bot dive you were talking about earlier, Sharks. Let's take a look at the first play that kind of Splyce looked like it was going to start well. Perhaps a little miscommunication on their part because Senkux hasn't started roaming down, and eventually that ends up leaving them in a poor situation. This was Perkz trying to PvE a little bit, but Crux hit it a little too hard. So TP's come through into the bottom lane, and from here, if Perkz is coming down for this, he's already able to kind of turn this back around once they're fleeing, but he's nowhere to be seen. Trick is able to pick up a second kill from this, and this slows Splyce down a little bit. But when you look at exactly how the replay goes, again, it's Splyce trying to use the Shen ult, as you're talking about, to try and turn around the bottom lane again and again, and eventually they'd get kills onto the Sivir, keep getting 2 kills a fight, and suddenly Cubby's just massive.
Well, overall, I didn't really like this dive as a play because if Soraka would put her silence faster, then Gragas' combo would be interrupted. So I think this was really risky, and they didn't end up that well. So overall, yeah, it's good that they try to do a lot of things with Shen. They tried the first game, they failed a lot of times. This game was better, so that's why they won. Yeah, it's like you play with Shen. If your ports work, your team is snowballing hard. So
I was also questioning, why don't they just go for the Gnar here? Because we know that one they're so good on. But G2 for the next game has selected to be on blue side again. What do you make of that, Jankos?
I do think they could try to first pick Shen and play the aggressive side of the matchup, like against Splyce. I think G2 has a lot of things in mind. I don't think the approach for winning lanes is good for them. I think they should try more team fighting approach. I think they should look for the outdraft or like decent scaling, and I also think they should try ban Sivir. I think the champ just provides too much for everyone.
Yeah,
and
Sivir Vlad Karma is just too hard.
It's perfect pick on purple side.
There is one thing I don't really want to see so much out of G2, especially from how it went in Game 2. The blind pick Echo, I think, is a little risky if you know it's going mid lane. There is the flex potential. It's not instantly beatable, but I think Senkux did a great job with the Vlad available into it and didn't really get punished like he did with the Syndra. Not quite the same strength.
Well, I do believe that Vlad is a really good pick into Echo. Like maybe not early, like not when the Echo gets blue, but overall in teamfights. As you could see last game, when Echo played against Syndra, he could zone her from a teamfight because he could simply one-shot her. And Vladimir is really tanky. Like it's so hard to play against Vladimir in teamfight. I think for Echo, he has to look for other targets, and then it's Karma Sivir, so they're also hard to catch. Plus the Shen ult.
Yeah, you guys seem to agree that the draft is where they drop the ball for G2, so we'll see what they can do.
I think Youngbuck has to step up his drafting. So.
Youngbuck has to step up
Yamato
his
Cannon
drafting.
1-0.
And the every desk segment we'll do a check-in with the Perkzometer for Jankos. How did he do this game?
Well, I think the idea was for Trick to give him blue buff and him to stomp the lane, but since Gragas ganked top, it didn't work out as expected. I think he just miserably failed, and I'm really disappointed.
All right, there we go. This should be a segment that we revisit every
time.
Well,
I hope Perkz will rewatch the analysis segment.
I'm sure he will, and then he'll be tweeting about it. Well, we'll be taking a quick break before Game 3, but before we go, they started at the bottom, and now they're here. Let's take a look at the story of the Yellow Serpent, Splyce.
For me personally, it has just been a really long road of hard work and keeping your motivation up even in the hard times, and that is at this point I'm just really relieved that even I never gave up, and I always kept fighting to get to a point where I felt satisfied with what I'm doing, playing at an ability that I'm really happy with. If I look back 1 year being relegated in NA and 1 year later would be able to go to Worlds, then I don't know if I could find any better way to describe that. So in regards to Wonder, is that I've always seen him as this kind of player. Like for me, it's not a new thing to see him just pop off and carry games. Me and Wonder has found synergy that I don't think any other top and jungle has in the league. For Senkooks, he's just a really, really hard worker. He understands that at sometimes we can't always play around him. We're a 5-players team, and if one guy is not doing well, then the other guy is probably not going to do that well either. So it's all about that we all 5 are going to perform together. Kobe, he's just a really highly skilled player. Like he has these insane plays sometimes where I'm just like, well, what happened? For Mickey, sometimes it might be annoying that sometimes maybe we talk too much in Danish or something like this, but he's like a little brother kind of guy. The great thing about our team is that no matter what, if someone has a bad game or anything, there's no grudges. We just smile and laugh it out, and then we will just go to the next game. At this point, I'm already satisfied with how I'm playing myself, but the dream is to go to Worlds, and I think that is everyone's dream. And if you can manage to go to Worlds and play against the best players in the world, then that is probably the biggest satisfaction. Even as a rookie squad, we can do things at Worlds and surprise people.